And as I said before, may they never pour cold water on your body. This relationship matter. Speaking of relationships, one of the experts is back. Miracle Ihuoma is a dynamic speaker, author, clinical psychologist, life coach, and spiritual shepherd. Now, he's worked with different individuals, families, organizations as a family life therapist for over a decade. And as a conference speaker for over 13 years, he's been doing this back to back, and he's been contributing to our show as well. Today's topic is a deep one: understanding the need for personal space in relationships. Welcome back to the show, Miracle.
Thank you. It's good to be back again.
Okay, so how dare you ask for personal space? Are we not in a relationship? Why do you need personal space? If you want personal space, why are you in a relationship now? Yeah, they go your day now. I make a day my day.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Well, that's not totally true because while we're in a relationship, everyone should still maintain their individuality.
Okay.
That's very, very important because nothing beats your individuality. Nothing beats who you are. Being in a relationship is a role. Your individuality is your identity, and that you must maintain no matter what.
Okay.
So it's important that, so what we encourage is interdependence, not total dependence or total independence, but interdependence.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's an interesting angle. This interdependence, I guess there's certain aspects that you lean on your partner for.
Yes.
But in terms of personal space, maybe we should define what it actually is, what it represents. So, personal space, is it my phone? Is that my personal space? Is that my privacy? Is it my wardrobe? Is it the time I spend in the bathroom? Is that my personal space? What are you defining as personal space now?
Yes. So personal space will differ from person to person.
Okay.
So every individual in a relationship will find out what that personal space is for your partner. So for one person, it can be their wardrobe, like you said. For another person, it's in the restroom. I was reading something humorous the other day on Facebook where somebody said that he will never understand how partners, sits in the toilet together. Maybe one person is, pooing and the other person is right there.
Okay.
They will never understand it. He's been married for many years, and for him, that is personal space. He doesn't want that interaction in that space. So for that person, that's his personal space, right? And that's why relationships should be seen from the prism of what is attainable in your own relationship.
Okay.
Because we talked about last week about how people compare themselves to other relationships.
Yeah.
Because if you see somebody, for instance, who maybe is using the same toothbrush with their partner,
That's a bit. No. Same toothbrush?
Yes, their partners who use the same toothbrush, and they don't see anything wrong with it. For some other person like you, it's in that sense.
Okay. All right. So figuring out what your own personal space is and actually sharing it with your partners is also another thing.
Yes.
A lot of people are probably a little anxious about sharing this thought with their partner, maybe because it might scare them off. It might make them seem maybe like they have OCD or something like that. Or make it seem like they're hiding something, as with
cell phones.
Yeah.
Yes. And that's why, because at the end of the day, if you keep whatever it is that you consider a personal space for you from your partner, it will still tell on the relationship,
of course,
and it will come back to bite you. So it's important for you to just air it and then deal with whatever their response is at that particular time, right? Because I understand that, when it comes to personal space and things like that, there are 4 attachment styles when it comes to relationships.
Okay.
So we have the secure attachment.
Okay.
We have the anxious attachment style. We have the avoidant attachment style. We have the disorganized, which are those people who are both anxious and avoidant. Our attachment styles are basically how people are able to bond in relationships, how they are able to form intimacy in relationships. So for the avoidant is the person who is scared of having that close-knit relationship. So they are always avoiding anything that brings about intimacy. For the anxious is the person who is clingy.
Yeah.
Maybe because of their past experience, they have had people who maybe cheated on them or betrayed them or something like that.
They become monitoring spirits.
Exactly. They want to hold on to the partner and they're sniffing around, what are you saying? What are you doing? Where are you? And things like that. Yeah, but and of course it's disorganized where you don't even know where you are. There's a pull.
Yeah, and there's a push.
And there's a push.
Yeah.
Right. So you are sometimes anxious, sometimes you are avoidant. But the most secured is, or the best is secured, where you don't have a problem with intimacy, but you don't also have a problem with independence, while we're being on your own when it is needed, and allowing the other person their own space to breathe and to be who they are as well.
Okay. So when we started the conversation, we tagged it understanding the need for personal space. So this is something that each person needs. But the question now is, what is too much personal space?
Exactly.
When does it become a bit too much?
Yes. So so the person who has an avoidant attachment style would be the person who would be considered as having too much of personal space, because they would always want to be on their own. They would avoid, serious conversations. They would avoid intimacy and things like that. When that is the case, that is now too much, because you are in a relationship with somebody else, and there must be a difference between when you are single and when you are in a relationship. Because when you're in a relationship, there has to be a difference, because when you're in a relationship, you're sharing your life with somebody else. So it can't be exactly as you were when you were single, where you had all the time to yourself, where nobody asked you, or you were not accountable to anybody and things like that. So that healthy boundary is very important.
Okay. When it comes to the need for personal space, if your partner is not giving you any at all, if you feel choked or stifled, what is the first thing you're supposed to do?
Communication, communication, communication. So you want to communicate it to your partner, right? And tell them, let them see why this is needed, because a lot of people don't even see it. They don't see why, just like you said, why would you need a personal space? We are dating, or we are married, or whatever it is. But then you need to let them know why you need your personal space. Sometimes you need it to recuperate. Sometimes you need it to rejuvenate and then come back into the relationship refreshed. The same thing with work, the same thing with life in general. We all need personal spaces sometimes to recuperate and rejuvenate and then come back refreshed and more productive in the relationship. Because if they don't give that to you, it will ultimately tell on the relationship, because it's to be strained, to be stressed, and then you will snap easily, you will become touchy, you become edgy, and it's going to affect your relationship with them. So they need to see it, so you need to communicate to them. Okay,
so let's move into marriages now. I've heard of some very happy couples, and I use the happy in quote from what we see, what we hear, who it's discovered down the line that they don't even share a bedroom. Daddy has their own room, mommy has their own room, and they live in the same building, and they're happy. They go to church together, they do everything else
wondering
together.
How they have children.
And exactly. So having your own room as a spouse, is that a taboo, or is that okay in terms of personal space and boundaries? What do you think?
So his man is own, right? So I don't think there's anything wrong with it, and I don't think, so if it works for them, well, if it is not broken, don't fix it. That's the rule of the thumb when it comes to counseling people and even giving advice. If it's not broken, don't fix it. So if it works for them and they have 2 separate bedrooms and they're not complaining to you, they are happy, they are quote unquote happy, then it means it's okay.
All right. So it's not a taboo. It's not like there's a problem somewhere or someone is trying to hide something. Okay, all right, fantastic.
For somebody else, that's might not be obtainable. You might be like, oh, why would I have a separate bedroom? If that doesn't work for you, do what works for you. And there are people who it works for, actually.
All right.